So was the Real Housewives of New York Countess Luann kicked out of a gay piano bar for being belligerent? And now we're getting a better idea of when we will see the Real Housewives of Atlanta trailer, and the Real Housewives of Orange County reunion looks are finally revealed, and I have thoughts. Welcome back to the Kempire Daily YouTube channel, where you get daily and consistent hot topics in music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. So we are still celebrating 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. Actually, almost 103,000 subscribers. Stay tuned for more celebrations and, of course, our 100K giveaways. Anyways, so let's get into this. First of all, I was scrolling on Twitter, and of course, some of the Bravo blogs and things like that, and blogs in general, were tweeting about the Real Housewives of Atlanta. As you know, I told you just the other day that Bravo basically said, stop asking for the reunion trailer. Well, according to Jay's reality blog, and this is why I love the blogs, because they when we can't get to the information, they're peeping out the information, they're gathering the information. Shout out to all of my fellow bloggers and content creators and social media commentators. Okay, so Jay's reality blog tweeted this. B. Scott said in Drew and Ralph's Instagram live comments that the RHOA season 14 trailer will be out on March 30th. So then, of course, our friends over at Love B. Scott retweeted, and Denver retweeted, stating, and it will be a lovebscott.com exclusive. Since that time, they've deleted those tweets, and I'm sure the suits probably were like, okay, we're giving you an exclusive. Don't tell people anything yet. Because it is really, 2 weeks away. However, I said in reply to B. Scott, I said, well, this gives us a little bit of a heads up. So sometimes these things drop and then we're not prepared. We're out doing things. We're working on something else. We're live with something else. Then it's breaking news. Well, according to Love B. Scott, this trailer will be their exclusive March 30th. Maybe it'll come earlier. I'm going to stay ready. Okay? As you know, there have been mixed opinions about the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 14. Of course, Kandi has been doing a lot of press talking about the new season and really hyping up the season. And I hope it lives up to the hype, because normally I don't trust Andy Cohen when he hypes up a season, but I want to trust Kandi. But we shall see. Things will remain to be seen. Okay, there were a lot of excuses for season 13, but we have a bunch of new people. Marlo has been upgraded to a full-time housewife. I'm ready. I'm ready to see Sonia Richards-Ross, my fellow Jamaican. And they go to Jamaica, and people throwing dog bones. Drew, stop it. In other news, the Real Housewives of Orange County reunion looks. We already got a sneak peek of the reunion looks last week. Well, now officially Bravo has released the reunion looks, and honestly, they are terrible. We thought the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City reunion looks were bad. These reunion looks are terrible. And the Facetune on Dr. Jen and Emily, I'm like, why are their faces looking like that? Noella, you brought so much great moments of fashion during the season. I really thought that you were going to bring it in this reunion. Honestly, you could have wore this to the mall. I'm loving the spring colors, to be honest with you. Gina, who normally is not the fashionista, her hair and makeup look great. I mean, her outfit looks more like you're going out to the club, not necessarily an Orange County reunion look. But to me, the best dress has to be Shannon. I know people don't love Shannon, but I am loving this look. I did not look to see if it was the same fashion designer from Project Runway, but even if it isn't, I have a feeling it might be. We'll get back to you. I just didn't think it was that important. Normally, we would go live and break down some of these fashions and rate these fashions. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. Salt Lake City was so bad, it was worth it because they had feathers flying everywhere. These aren't even worth going live to talk about. But I said I'll mention it because they are released. Hair and makeup goes to me, for me, Gina. But overall look, hair, makeup, and dress goes to Shannon. Come on. Heather looks like a Stepford wife. She doesn't look bad, but it also isn't exciting. Very much like Heather this season. Nice to have you back, but not very exciting. Dr. Jen, I don't mind the dress. I'm seeing feathers. Okay. But I don't know what's going on with the face tune between her and Emily. But a bore, and I have a feeling this reunion is going to be a bore. When Shannon was on Watch What Happens Live, she did say that, you know, she was screaming a lot during the reunion, probably at Gina. But for me, Shannon is the best dressed at this reunion. But as always, I want to know what your thoughts are and how you would rate each of their looks. So feel free, give them all a rating below. But let's get into some Real Housewives of New York news. So according to page 6, Countess Luann was at a gay piano bar here in New York City at Townhouse. I've never been. I really thought, unless it's changed its name, no idea. Anyways, so Countess Luann must be vying for her new position on the Real Housewives of New York. I believe, according to sources, that the Real Housewives of New York is starting to slowly move forward for their new season. So don't be surprised if we get some rhony news in the coming weeks. But the timing of this story is very interesting. You know these Real Housewives of New York ladies love to use the press. According to this report, Countess Luann went to this place after rehearsing for her cabaret and was so belligerent. At one point, they're booing her at her, and she says, F you to them. Let me get into what the report is saying, because I'm just summarizing, paraphrasing. I'm sure you want to know the play-by-play, okay? So according to page 6, they say the Real Housewives Countess Luann, I'm adding the Countess Luann de Lesseps drunkenly took over the mic at a gay piano bar, belting out tunes and telling booing patrons, F you, before she was eventually kicked out, though she denies she was given the boot. Of the Countess, who has publicly battled with sobriety, a source exclusively tells page 6, she monopolized the piano, but this isn't how it works. You sing one song and you move on. But she's the Countess. She's a cabaret star.
Women.
So the 56-year-old reality star, who looks amazing, she looks amazing for 56, who performs her own Countess cabaret show, already seemed sozzled when she showed up at the piano bar Townhouse in Manhattan on a Wednesday night. She grabbed the mic and simply wouldn't stop, says one source. Luann thought she was doing her act. She tried to sing her own song, Money Can't Buy You Class, but they didn't know it. How dare that? They pretended like they didn't know that song. Even I know that song, and I've never played it. They know the standards. Okay, these are maybe Townhouse is a certain type of gay. Okay, so the piano player was like, I don't know the song, and she responded, it's a hit. The critically trashed song apparently sold 19,000 digital copies. Damn. So according to page 6, they said, undeterred, a liquored up de Lesseps kept belting out jumbled versions of songs which were so intolerable the crowd began booing her in front of a stunned drag queens including Tiffany Ann Coke, Shiny Penny, Lauren O'Dare, and Chandelier, says another source. What in the gay mess is happening?
Woo. There's a lot going on.
Things took a turn for the worse when Luann began yelling at the gays, you don't know me, I'm a cabaret star. Video taken by a patron seen by page 6 shows de Lesseps in a considerably crude, un-Countess-like move, snarling at the crowd, F you, while on the mic singing. The tipster tells us that de Lesseps yelled at other patrons on the microphone and then was thrown out for getting aggressive with the bar's customers. So, of course, according to page 6, they got in contact with people close to Countess de Lesseps. So they said a probably very hungover de Lesseps explained to page 6 on Thursday through an intermediary. Okay. I was at rehearsals all day yesterday for an upcoming cabaret show at Fine Scenes 54 and below. Shameless way to promote your show. Okay. Then went to dinner with Broadway producers. We were in a celebratory mood and drinking champagne. She says she then went to Townhouse with Tony Award-winning Kinky Boots producer Jim Kerstead after around 10:30 p.m. And there were a bunch of people singing, and it was a fun, boisterous crowd. I got up and sang a few Broadway songs they were playing. I realized I was a little bit tipsy, but we were having fun and it was getting late. I'd been rehearsing and I was in the mood to sing a few songs. Then Jim said to me, Lou, I have an early rehearsal, and then we left around midnight, 11:30 p.m. According to the Kinky Boots producer, after a birthday party for a New York theater personality, Luann and I went to Townhouse for a nightcap. She was met by legions of fans and was convinced to sing for them. I was finally able to bring her home as I had an early morning Thursday for a workshop of a new musical. Of course, she was the belle of the ball as usual. A friend of Delasep's adds that when it comes to staying on the wagon, she has been trying to stay healthy and take things day by day. As you know, I know a lot of people have said that Luann is not an alcoholic. I don't believe she's admitted to being an alcoholic. However, she has gone to AA. She's had to do it because of her arrest as well. Look, I hope that this is a stunt so that she can sell tickets for her show and get another spot on the Real Housewives of New York. I think it did double duty, to be honest with you. However, if she really is struggling with her sobriety, all prayers and all due respect. Work on that, Luann. You do not need to be on TV working on your sobriety. But when I saw this story, Luann's been in the news quite a few times since the season wrapped, you know, for hightailing it out of there and without paying a check. She's since said she did pay the check later. And now this story. Again, I feel like it's a ploy to sell tickets for her show. And I think just in time for people to talk about her for the Real Housewives of New York, to get producers interested in Luann being on the show, to talk about her sobriety, to talk about this incident. So don't be surprised if you see this incident play out on the next season of the Real Housewives of New York. Are you guys missing rhony? I miss rhony. Don't get me wrong. Last season was crap. However, it still was one of my favorites, if not the favorite of the franchise. I want to see it come back and just shine, but it cannot shine if you don't bring Dorinda back. Okay, Dorinda needs to be in the conversation, okay? A bunch of new people, I'm okay, but Dorinda has to be in the conversation. Guys, as always, let's continue the conversation below. What do you think about the trailer? Are you excited about the trailer for The Real Housewives of Atlanta coming to lovebscott.com on March 30th? And what do you think of the Real Housewives of Orange County reunion looks? And do you think this was a ploy by Countess Luann to get us talking and to sell tickets and to bring her back on rhony? As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. Thanks for watching.